They've got some energy. For more on Children's Day, I spoke with Mei Fong. She's the author of One Child, the story of China's most radical experiment. I asked her how China's thoughts about children have evolved.
Well, they've gone from that whole, we should have a big family. Family has always been a very traditional crux of Chinese culture, to one child for the good of the nation, right? Since we're so overpopulated, let's reduce the population. And now they're at a point where the pendulum is swinging the other way. It's please have more children for the good of the nation, because they're worried about their demographics in the long run and who's going to take care of the elderly. And so, but the problem is now the big trend in all global trends in every modern society is smaller sized families. Women have fewer children, women go to colleges, women work. That's simply the way it is. And all this coupled with 30+ years of the one-child policy propaganda makes it even more harder to raise birth rates just at this time, which is why they're talking about sort of maybe dropping all restrictions whatsoever.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the numbers. China has overtaken the U.S. In healthy life expectancy at birth for the very first time. What are your thoughts on that? Well,
it's both a good thing and a bad thing, right? I mean, obviously, it's great that we're all living longer. I mean, in 1949, the average life expectancy in China was 49 years old. So it's obviously much better. It's in the 70s now. But the other problem with that is if everybody's living longer and everybody's having fewer kids, then who is going to take care of the elderly population? And that's one of the big issues with China now. By 2050, 1 in 4 people will be a retiree. So that's a big problem.
Yeah, you've got huge numbers when it comes to population in China, and then you...
And then it's the mix, yeah. How many old, how many workers. That's the thing that needs to be managed. And it's not easily because you can't order babies on command.
No, it doesn't work that way. There's that 9-month lapse. Chinese children, though, make up nearly 1/5 of all the children in the world, and yet, as you say, there's this disparity, which is really interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and also it's also the disparity within China itself. Obviously, a child born in rural areas versus city areas, very wide disparity. It's as big as between, say, London and Lhasa. So you have in cities like Shanghai, very well-educated kids, top of the PISA scores, globally smartest, most well-educated, and you have kids in rural areas who are increasingly being left behind.
How do you level that playing field? It's really tough, isn't it?
It is, and one of the problems is, China's transitioned very quickly from a sort of a planned economy to a capitalist-style economy, and I think that what they're trying to do is maybe they've been talk about changing household registration barriers that make it harder for people in rural areas. So that's going to be one area that they're going to have to do. And the other issue is also raising retirement age, because this is a big issue. China is right now one of the earliest retirement ages, as much as 50, and to deal with the aging population, they're going to have to raise it, but that's a very unpopular move, of course.
How about this day? It's a big deal in China, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
People still love children very much, and if you have one child, of course, it's so much more meaningful.